later on, he said, there was a switch in his statement, and he said that he is now in favor of a total kind of a deal. In other words, all-encompassing deal for the release in one or a few steps to release the hostages.
Okay.
So I really don't know what the Israeli policy right now is.
The Israeli military says that it's begun the first stage of its attack on Gaza City. It claims to have a hold on the outskirts. 60,000 or so reservists are being called as part of the move. This is after Hamas said it's accepted a deal for a 60-day ceasefire and to release half of the living hostages. We're joined by Brigadier General Meir Elran, the former Deputy Director of Military Intelligence for the Israel Defense Force. Welcome to you, General.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on the program. So the move has begun to take Gaza City. What will this mean then for the next stage of the conflict and the intensity of that conflict?
Well, first of all, I want to suggest to you and to your audience that there are two parallel channels that are taking place right now in Gaza. The first one is the one that you alluded to, and this is the preparations for the attack on the Gaza City as part of the attempt on the part of the IDF to dismantle Hamas, which has been going on for almost 2 years now. At the same time, we are witnessing, and also I would add, hoping, that there is another channel, which is a diplomatic channel, which tries or attempts to bring about some kind of a deal between Israel and the Hamas through the intermediaries and with the blessing of the United States and the Western international community. And of course, the two channels correspond and have a direct link between them. If, of course, we will be able to achieve this kind of a deal, and I hope very much that we will be able to do that, and there are some indications also that this might be the case this time. I hope I'm not mistaken. Of course, the whole picture, the whole military picture will be different. At the same time, I want to add that the idea, of course, behind the statements on the part of the military and the political echelon in Israel that this kind of an attack on the city of Gaza is forthcoming, of course, is designed to serve as an extra pressure, an additional pressure on Hamas to do what we hope that it will do. In other words, to enable this deal to materialize.
Okay, So, General, you mentioned the possibility of a ceasefire deal. So let me deal with that with you now, if I can. I'll come back to the military developments around Gaza. We're hearing from Benjamin Netanyahu that what he wants to see, that he insists on seeing, is all of the hostages released in one go. Now, as far as we understand it, I think Hamas is offering to release half the hostages. That's obviously not satisfactory, but it's what they're offering now. When you see the leader of your country saying, no, it's got to be all, does that lead you to believe that maybe we'll not see a ceasefire now, which would obviously be a disappointing outcome?
Well, of course, I hope that the outcome will not be disappointing, mostly for the families of the kidnapped hostages. I must admit that I don't know exactly what the Prime Minister is up to. There are different versions of what he wants to actually happen.
Yes.
At one point, he was saying that he is in favor of a partial deal with a number of hostages, alive and dead, being released for, of course, the exchange of prisoners, Palestinian prisoners, Hamas prisoners. And then later on, he said, there was a switch in his statement, and he said that he is now in favor of a total kind of a deal. In other words, all-encompassing deal for the release in one or a few steps to to release the hostages. So I really don't know what the Israeli policy right now is. Possibly, hopefully, the people who are dealing with this case know what the situation is. I don't know exactly what the American position here, and I also don't know exactly what the Hamas position is. So we're in the midst of a dialogue here, apparently, still to be upgraded, because the two sides have not really met for some time now, and I think this will be an indication that things are moving forward. But I mean, I think that this picture of a confusion that I experience is designated to be confusing.
Yes,
and so we will have to wait and see what happens when the situation is cleared up.
Okay. Now, I'm obviously interested, General, to hear such a prominent observer. As you say, you simply can't read the thinking of Benjamin Netanyahu and his administration. And we'll just have a listen to this, if you would, because yesterday, about this time yesterday, I spoke to Sir Jeremy Greenstock, who, as I'm sure you know, is a former representative of this country to the United Nations. And he said this:
I think Netanyahu is playing for time. I think he wants, in his internal position, to continue to be the conflict leader of his country, whereas in peacetime he might be under greater attack politically from within his system. So for the moment, he's trying to avoid having to end the war, because he's then more exposed politically, even though he will be more praised internationally.
So that then, General, is a former senior British ambassador saying, in his view, in his firm view, Benjamin Netanyahu is perpetuating the war for his own political advantage. And he's, as you know, not the only one who takes that view now. What do you say to that?
Well, with all due respect that I have for the ambassador, first of all, I want to say that this version that suggests that Prime Minister Netanyahu is mostly interested in the domestic political scene in Israel rather than with the international side. I mean, many people say that this is indeed the case. I don't know. I think that there is a mixture. It's this and that. It's not either or situation. In other words, yes, he is very interested in what's happening to his coalition. He is not in the best condition in terms of his coalition. You probably know, as everybody knows, that the far right in Israel is extreme on one hand and putting lots of pressure on the prime minister to take a very tough position as far as the situation in Gaza is concerned. But at the same time, I think that if there is a chance that we will be able to bring about some kind of a ceasefire, which will be satisfactory to Israel, and which will answer at least most of the demands of Israel, which have been, by the way, all of them, recognized, acknowledged, and accepted by the international community, including the UK and including Western Europe, not to mention, of course, the United States of America. And also the Arab countries are sharing the same kind of a view that Hamas has to be dismantled. The Hamas will not be part of the future setup of Gaza. And I think that this should be the case as we move forward. And I think that, with all due respect to the, how shall I put it, to the domestic hardships and maneuvers of the prime minister, who is really a very skilled politician, I think that he is still very interested in bringing the situation to a better place.
Okay, I want to stay for a moment, if I can.
Yesterday, when it comes to the hostages,
I want to stay for a moment, if I can, with the motives of the Netanyahu coalition government. You mentioned the hardliners in that government. We're seeing, aren't we, as well as this advance into Gaza, we're seeing settlements, Israeli settlements, growing with, it seems, official approval on the West Bank. Are we looking, General, at a conscious policy now of displacing the Palestinian population wholesale and absorbing their territory, in defiance, of course, of international law and all of those UN resolutions?
Well, first of all, you're right that there is a very consistent kind of a move on the part of the far right in the Israeli politics to expand the presence of Jewish settlements in the West Bank, and they're also talking about possible future settlements also in Gaza. This is true, and this is part of their platform. And this is one of the issues that is being discussed in Israel in many ways. They are successful in some ways; they are not successful in some other ways. And if you ask me personally what I think about that, I am totally against this kind of a line. I think that sometime in the future, hopefully not in the far future, we will be able to get into some kind of a dialogue with the Palestinian people at large, without, of course, Hamas. They are out of the picture as far as I'm concerned, but one that will be able to pursue a policy, a joint policy of two-state solution, which to me is the only way for us and for the Palestinians to establish some kind of a geopolitical structure that would not only be positive as far as constructive as far as the Israelis and the Palestinians, also will be able to change the messy situation in the Middle East, and this is something that we are all looking forward to.
All right, look forward to talking to you again before long. Brigadier General Meir Elran, thank you so much for being with us.